Mhm.
Being able to have additional streams of income. So very, very happy to share with you what I've done. And the cool thing about this is that how many investors do we currently have in the room? If you have any, we got one, two, uh, three. Any more investors we have in the room? Four. Okay, we got a few investors in the room. And guys, this conversation is designed to be very, very engaging. So please feel free to ask questions, raise your hands. The seasoned investors we have in the room, please feel free to give your knowledge and your feedback on maybe your story, on your first investment, your multiple investments. And then if your goal is to become an investor, this is a safe place for you to ask a question. All right. Because if you don't know it, we want to make sure that we give you an answer before you leave. So, okay. All right. So, become your best investor, building an inheritance for your children's children. And because we are a faith company, again, as God, family, then business, the becoming an investor is something that we're going to center around. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So, leaving something that outlives you. And so, every commission has a purpose. To The purpose of today's commission is to buy tomorrow's freedom. So one of the great things about our industry is that those commission checks, generally, commission is anywhere from 2 to 4% of a transaction. And we get lump sums of money for all the hard work that we do. And so one of the things that I want us to strategically start thinking about is making sure we put aside something for the future. So every commission has a purpose, and this framework is designed around legacy. So we'll talk about lead with vision. What's your vision for the future? We'll talk about establish, how you establish a strong foundation. We'll talk about grow, how to grow. We'll talk about the acquire. A stands for acquire assets. C stands for create cash flow. The Y stands for yield a legacy. And so the first thing is let's you start with a vision. What's your vision? Does anybody feel safe enough to share what their vision is for the future in terms of investments? Okay, let me reframe the question. Let me reframe the question. When you decide to retire, how much passive income would you like to have coming in? As much as possible. I love that. Maxed out. All right. Who has a hard number? How much is it 10,000 a month? Is it 20,000 a month? What does that look like for you to live comfortably and not have to actively work? Who has a number? Y'all don't have to be shy. It's such a great room. I'm gonna have to. Now I know everybody in here almost, so I'm gonna start picking on some folks. If y'all don't talk, I'm gonna have to pick on some folks. Katrina, what's your number? What's your retirement number, Katrina? How much you want to make? Yeah. Uh-huh. She already knew she was gonna be the first one. She should have went on raised the hand. 200,000. So that's roughly a month. We can break that down per month. What is that per month? 10,000 a month. That's awesome. So you retire, everything paid off, and now you just got 10,000 coming in a month. All right. So roughly, if you have 10 free and clear properties and rent is $1,000 a month, you can be grossing at least $10,000 a month. So that's what it looks when we talk about lead with vision. Who has another number? Rolay, what's your number? Okay, okay. Rolay, did you raise your hand when I said who's an investor in the room? I didn't see your hand go up. Okay, so Rolay is I guess he's a silent investor. He's an investor back there too. But that's it. So but this is what it looks like, making sure that you have some passive income coming in. And the great thing about having a real estate license, and I want everybody to hear this, the great thing about having a real estate license is this: we have a license to build wealth. The mindset shift is we build wealth for everyone else. We have to build wealth for ourselves. Okay. So that's the benefit about becoming an investor. So the next step is once you have your vision, once you say, hey, this is what I want to have in passive income, this is what I want to have, this is what I want to pass off to my daughters. Katrina has two daughters. So I'm going to use her for an example. I know a little bit personal history on her. She says, hey, I got 10 rental properties. Once pass on, I'm gonna give five to one daughter, five to other daughter, and they'll have $5,000 coming in for the rest of their life. And so that's what it means about living, having a vision that lives outside of you. Her daughters will probably have some grandkids. So now my grandkids have some passive income coming in, and I'm showing my daughters how to leave a legacy by leaving them something and having something set aside for my grandkids. And so that's what we start with, the big vision. What does your big vision look like? The next step is establishing foundation. So building your business the right way, it does require a few steps. And the first step would be go ahead and getting an LLC. Does anyone currently have an LLC? Oh, we have several people for LLC. And then also getting an EIN number. Uh, Raise your hand if you think it's difficult to set up an LLC. All right, so let me say this. Anybody who wants help establishing an LLC, I will be more than happy to assist them. It's almost just as simple as establishing a Facebook or social media account. They ask you a few questions. In 10 to 15 minutes, you should have your LLC set up. Okay. Same thing with an EIN number. EIN number, you go to irs.gov, you answer a few questions, and you have an EIN number. Why are these things important for you to get started? And I'm assuming everybody's in the room, so eventually everybody wants to be an investor because it gives you better financing options to have this. So even as a new business, when you go into a bank as a new business, your businesses don't have a credit card or anything. What you do, being the president or the managing member of your LLC, is they will give you a loan based on your credit and you being the guarantor of the loan. And so that's why it's important for you to establish a LLC and an EIN number. Again, in 30 minutes, those things could be done. If anyone needs any help, I'd be more than happy to help them right after class or set up an appointment to help them after class. Um, so the third stage is grow, growing your buying power. So you grow your buying power a few different ways. First, strengthening your credit, understanding financing. Those are ways that you grow your buying power. Also, making sure that you uh, build relationships with banks. What I've seen is that banks, local banks, typically are more favorable to small business owners as opposed to national banks. And when I talk about local banks, I'm talking about banks like potentially Bank of Bartlett. I use Southern Bank Corp. When I talk about national banks, I'm referring to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and when we think about regional banks, we're thinking about banks like Regions, maybe Truist, some banks that are heavy in the southern region, southern East Coast region, but nationally they're not. But my experience has always been local banks are willing to build a relationship, and also they're willing to bet on your dream. So I want to talk a little bit about establishing the established piece and tell you all my personal story around the established piece. So back in 2018, I started LLC, Kingdom Home Builders, in 2018. So several years ago, started LLC. My goal at that point was I knew I wanted to build homes. So what I did was I said, hey, I might as well start my LLC. So it was a step in faith for me to start my LLC. Started my LLC. At that particular time in my career, I was a banker. So I knew all the steps I needed to do. I was a banker. Knew what my credit score was, which I think at that time was probably around 700. Knew all the steps I need to do. Knew I can go in and guarantee the loan. They'll let me borrow against it. And so, um, oh, and let me back up just a little bit. My my story began with I was a banker and I had a client who was a closing attorney. Now I always wanted to build homes, but I had a client who was a closing attorney, which I opened up their accounts. And at that time, they didn't have the automation where you can do it online. So they had to send closing documents to me. I had to key in everything in the system, and then I'll send it back and approve it. And so when I keyed it in, when they sent the documents over to me, it was a deal for a new construction home for a small local builder, and it was the total amount was maybe 300,000. And so I seen in that 300,000, about 220 went back to the bank to pay off the bank loan, and I seen $80,000 go to the builder. And I said, this is my sign. I need to speed my plan up and get into building. I seen the builder gross $80,000. So I said, okay, what do I need to do? Did all the research. I said, first step, establish my LLC, get my tax ID number, and then I can go into a bank with my good credit score, and they'll let me borrow for my dream to come true. And so I went into the bank, had everything in line, and I got told no about 6 times. Okay. Now, the ironic thing about that is this: I'm a banker. I'm a banker. So I was at the bank meeting with other bankers, knew that I had everything in place, and the banks told me no. The banks told me no. I just kept on setting up appointments because I knew I had everything. And um, and then I finally met a bank who said, "Yeah, we'll let you borrow." And the encouraging thing around that is this: when I heard them say, "Yes, I will let you borrow it," this is what I heard: "We'll give you $250,000 to build this house. All we want back is 250 plus a little interest." Okay. And so just think about that. A bank is willing to bet on you to build your dream. All they want back is their principal, the 250, and a little interest. Okay. So let me ask somebody in the room, if Becky, if I gave you 250 to build a home, you think you could bring the bank back? If I gave you 250 to build a home, and what the bank does is they appraise a blueprint, which means they'll take the land value and what the blueprint, so they appraise it based on if the home was built and say, hey, we appraise this at 350, we're gonna give you 250 to build. Can you bring us back 250? Do you think you could do that, Becky? Okay. So I said, that's what I said. I said, listen, y'all gonna give me 250. Now all I gotta do is bring y'all back 250 plus a little interest. Yes, I can do that. And so just want to remove the fear. Cause my thing is if you can bet on me for my dream, I can at least bring you. If I supposed to make 350, I know I can at least bring you back 250. I could break even and bring you back 250 plus a little bit of interest. So that's how the process worked. And so had one bank bet on me. They said, yeah, just bring me back 250, Don. I said, okay, I think I can do that. And that's where it started at. That bank is Southern Bank Corp. Again, they're very, very friendly to small businesses. They're very friendly to minority businesses, women-owned businesses, which is a minority business. So it's a very, very friendly bank. If we do another series, I'll bring a panel of bankers in that I bank with, and so they can talk about their process. Um, but that's and again, they knew I didn't have experience. They knew I was new. I was very transparent with them, but they took a shot on me, and that's what it takes, just getting the opportunity. So that's for the growth phase, increasing your buying power. So you have several forms of financing. You have traditional financing, which is if you don't have a LLC, the route that you LLC EIN number more than likely is the route that you have to take is maybe doing a conventional route where you do a conventional loan, FHA loan, or a VA loan to do your first investment property. If you do have your LLC established along with your EIN number, that gives you some investor financing options. Those options include potentially a DSCR loan. How many of y'all does I know we talk about that phrase, but does anybody know what that loan means? I know I got at least one person here that know what it means. Yes, so they do give you money to build and fix it up. So that is correct, but it stands for debt service coverage ratio. And generally they want you to be at 1 point or higher. So 1% or higher, they'll give you that loan. Now, guys, let me tell you what that means. Because this is something that if you're interested in potentially buying and holding or buying, fixing and holding, the debt coverage service ratio loan is the best loan for you. First, your credit score only has to be maybe between a 620 and a 640. And really, with this particular loan, the major thing that they're analyzing is this: if you buy this property and hold it, that if you rent it, the rent can cover the payments. All right, does that make sense? All right, so just think about that. You have banks out there will say, "Hey, I don't mind financing your project, long as I know that the projected rent can take care of the payment." Now, as real estate professionals, we could do all the research to find that out on the front end, right? Okay. So again, I'm sharing these things with you because I want to give y'all confidence around becoming an investor because it's not as difficult as challenging as you may think it is. I told you the bank, they took a bet on me. They said, "Hey, we'll let you build a house. Just bring us 250 and some change back." The home supposed appraised at 350. I said, "Hey, I think I can make that happen." Also, the debt service coverage ratio loan is saying, "Hey, I identified a potential rental property, and what they're evaluating is can your rental payment not make a profit, but can it cover what the mortgage loan would be?" And they just wanted to be over 1%, which is if it's $1,000, if you're renting out for 1,000, our mortgage payment 1,000, that's optimal. Of course, you want to be a little bit over that to be profitable, but that's what the debt coverage service ratio loan is looking for. Also, it's debt service coverage ratio loan. Yep. You have portfolio loans where they will combine loans together to uh, to finance projects for you, and then also you have construction loans, which I've talked about that a little bit as well. In addition to that, you have creative financing. What creative financing looks like is you have private money, and so you have private money, you have hard money, you have certain people that say, "Hey, this is enough equity in this where I don't mind letting you borrow, but my interest rate's a little bit higher. I don't have all the red tape, all the restrictions. Yeah, my interest rate's a little bit higher, but I see where you're going. I see your vision. I see it could be profitable for both of us. So I don't mind letting you borrow money, but I'm gonna let you borrow at a higher rate." You also have seller financing options. We realtors. So when we sit down in front of a client, we have some clients that say, "Hey, I have to move. It's a tough market. I have to move. I know I probably can't sell it, but I'm interested in you bringing me some options. Another option would be potentially seller financing. You'll negotiate terms on seller financing, how you can make that potential property work for it. And for every listing appointment that we take, we should always look at a deal from an investor standpoint. And then you have partnerships. So you have, being a real estate professional expert, you have people who will be willing to partner with you. Anybody have friends that got some money parked on the side? Okay. Uh, Sarah raised her hand. I hear a lot of people nodding their head. Katrina pointing up here at me. I don't know why she pointing at me. But we all got friends who say, man, you were nobody, friend or family members that walked up to us and said, "You're a real estate agent. Hey, if you come across a good deal, let me know." Has anybody ever had that conversation? We get it all the time. And this is an opportunity for them. And guess what? With these potential partnerships, it may not be them financing the whole 100%. It could be them putting up to 20%. You have a partnership where they put up to 20%, y'all finance the other 80%. So it's several ways with partnerships. Again, the purpose of this seminar is for us to look at becoming our own best investor, and we can do that through creative ways. And so don't let financing stop your future. You have several ways that you can get finance. And like I say, I would love to maybe have a follow-up course where we just bring different banks, different lending institutions in so that you can hear the ease of the process to take the anxiety away from maybe I don't have everything together. They're not looking necessarily for you to have everything together. They just want to know that it makes sense. All right. So the acquire assets piece. This talks a little bit about knowing your box. There are several different paths, and so you just want to know your box. You want to know what makes sense for you. We're real estate professionals. We have all type of tools that will allow us to analyze a deal. We have real estate professionals in here who will help you analyze deals to see if it makes sense. I know at one point our resident investor specialist Nick Bolding, he had calculators who kind of take the guesswork out of it for you. And so you have all type of partners right here in Keller Williams who, and one thing I love about our environment is everybody here wants you to win. So if you have something that you want to run by someone who has investing background, they would love to sit down and talk to you about it. There are calculators out there to help you analyze deals. We can also leverage AI to help us analyze deals. There are tools as a realtor that we can use to help us analyze deals just to see if it makes sense. So, and the importance about that is because if we can analyze it on the front end, what it does is it helps to mitigate the risk. Now, is investing totally risk free? No, it's not. And so what we want to do on all our deals is we want to make sure we analyze it. We want to make sure that if we are a novice to it, that we get input from people who are seasoned, so that we can help minimize and mitigate the risk that comes with purchasing an investment property. Um, so that's the acquire asset piece. The next piece is choose your path, master it, then expand. And so this is really important. They're about, I simplified it to about 5 paths that you can choose from. The first path is buy and hold. What you're looking at doing with the buy and hold piece is just purchasing a property, you buying it, you're renting it out, and you're allowing someone to pay the mortgage for you. So the buy and hold is a very popular strategy now. The buy and hold piece, it does not make you rich overnight, but it does allow you to build wealth for the long term. And so if your horizon is, hey, in 5 years and 10 years, I want to have consistent passive income, my strategy for you will be buy and hold. The additional profit that you make outside of paying your mortgage, make sure that you apply a little bit of that back towards the principal so that you can pay it off early. So in the 5, 10 years, 15 years, is that property is free and clear. Uh, the fix and flip strategy is you buying a distressed property um, at a very good price. Again, has anybody let me ask a show of hands. Has anybody run across a distressed property that they saw and they asked an investor were they interested in purchasing it? Show of hands. All right. Does anybody want to talk about? Has anybody helped walk that investor through the process of purchasing it, then help that investor turn around and list it, and then seen the profit that the investor made? Can anybody just tell a really quick high level story about that? Nick, come on, Nick. And talk about your most profitable investment that you said, dog, I wish I would have did this. Well, just, I guess maybe out of your top three, just one that comes to mind that you said maybe it was early on. Of course, Nick has a construction team and he does a lot of it himself now, but maybe that early on deal, just like similar to my when the light bulb came on for me when I sent that wire, when I seen that the builder made $80,000, I said, okay, I think I can do this. That's a great story. That's a great story. Thank you, Nick, for sharing. Anybody else has a story? Becky, hold on one second, Becky. Mhm. Mhm. Woo. Wow. How much money do you think they put into it? 600. Okay. So maybe 900,000 in it and they doubling their profit. And how long have they had it for? A year and a half. Wow. That's an amazing return. I don't think I mean the stock market doing good. I don't think the stock market doubling your money. It's absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Becky, let me ask you this before you get the mic back. Because did you represent the seller or the buyer? You had the seller. Okay. Hmm. No, knowing what you know now, would you maybe have purchased the home? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's why we want to become our own best investor. All right. Great stories. Oh, Sarah. Sarah, I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question because I know. And I know you don't mind sharing. How much do you think you moved in with equity in that deal? Woo, that's hey, that's hard to pass up. Hmm. Wow, wow. To move in, so instant equity, $250,000 moving into it. Go ahead. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. That's a great story. And let me say this too, while the mic is coming to you. That's a buy and hold strategy. That's a buy and hold strategy. You can buy it for yourself and live in it, enjoy it, and then when it's time to sell, make a profit off of it. I love Nick's story because he talked about uh, the guy making $90,000, taking that and purchasing an apartment. Nick, how much was that apartment valued at? Do you remember? Okay, okay. So 575, and let me just do real quick math. 20% of 575 is roughly about $100,000, right? So he bought a house, had one income, sold it for $90,000, took the 90, added roughly $10,000 to it, and then bought a 12 unit income producing property. The power of investing. All right. Mhm. 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 Man, great question. Great question. And let me say this. This is something I don't know if this is in every community, but this is something that is it's a familiar story in the African American community where grandma seen the vision, bought the house, paid it off, say, "Hey, I'm gonna leave this for the kids," and y'all can, you know, keep it in the house, keep it in the family forever, sell it. It don't matter. This is my investment, or this is my legacy. This is me being a good woman and leaving an inheritance to my children's children. This is what I'm leaving behind. And so, and these situations are, they may not sound challenging on the surface level, but they can be very challenging. I know that Courtney and Tarnika are dealing with a situation similar to this right now. Is that correct? Well, we've had some conversations around it, uh, and it's hard to get a lot of people on the same page. But my advice would be seeing how you can buy them out so that you can retain the property. And also, does anyone else have any recommendations on how to uh, keep the family peace and try to make as many people as happy as possible? Go ahead, Sarah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So multiple approaches. Um, mhm, mhm. Yes. Mhm. Gotcha. That's correct. Are you the realtor on the transaction? Okay. All right. All right. Well, good job. All right. Well, so next we're going to let's go back to choose a path. I want to just talk through all these and see if y'all have any questions on it. So we talked about the buy and hold. Sarah's experiencing that now. She's seen something that she like and say, hey, I can raise my family here. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna get some equity on the front end, and when I sell it, I'm gonna cash in. We have the fix and flip strategy. And we talked about anybody have any stories they want to talk about fix and flip? Okay. We have the build and hold strategy where you build new construction and you hold it. Um, so I am working on a build and hold strategy now. Nick, go ahead, Nick. Oh, fix and flip. Go ahead, Nick.
Are the speakers able to get the mic? We can't hear on Zoom.
Yes. Thank you, Nick. So fix and flips. Nick. How many fix and flips have you done? A lot of experience with fix and flips. And one of the things that he said is fix and flips for the novice investor. One, a couple things, couple notes to his point. First, you have to inspect what you expect. So you have to hire the right team. Just from experience, I can tell you the cheapest is not always the best. Sometimes the cheapest will pick you will be picking up material and take you'll become very familiar with all the lanes at Home Depot and Lowe's because you'll be there every day picking up stuff and meeting the contractor with it. Um, so and also just knowing if you're doing the fix and flip, just making sure that you uh, one of the issues I have, I'm very optimistic. Anybody very optimistic in the room? I can, yeah. So I'm very optimistic. So one of the points that Nick made is that make sure that you account for that. So whatever your numbers are, subtract 10% and run it from there because that gives you a conservative number. That gives you a worst case scenario number. So then if you end up outperforming it as well, if something goes south, you've already accounted for it using that 10%. So great points, Nick. Go ahead. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Are you holding it or did you sell it? Okay. So is is build and sell? Yes. Hmm. 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 Okay.
So Dorcas is asking, what is the best starting point when you and your spouse are getting into investing and y'all have different viewpoints of what the best route is?
So I mean that's a great question. First, man, just want to commend y'all and about finding the common ground and knowing that investing is a way to build wealth. And so y'all actually have more in common than separates you. And in a situation like this, I know that in the marriage, you're the real estate professional. And so what I would do is look at look at things as they come. So if you have an opportunity to build, excuse me, if you have opportunity to buy and hold and rent out for long term, you present it to them. If you have an opportunity to fix and flip, you present it to them. Now, I had one of my old mentors told me this, and so there's just something to think about, particularly when you're looking at is this deal maybe a buy and hold or fix and flip, and some of that is just what does it cash flow, okay? And so when you presenting a deal to your husband, you want to see if this deal makes sense uh, for you to rent it out because you can. I'm just going to use some pretend numbers. You maybe can the mortgage that you have on is 500 and you getting $1,200 a month, but if you sold it, you would only profit $20,000. It makes more sense for you to buy and hold. So that's one way to look at a deal. If it's a fix and flip where you could be, the equity is there for you to sell it and make $30,000, $40,000 on the fix and flip, that's when you probably want to present it. But it does not necessarily have to be a one way or other. It could be, you could base it based on the deals that you have come into you. Hmm. Well, and that's a great question. And so, and also some of it is this, the very first thing we talked about was the legacy piece. So lead with vision, and so some of it is this, what's your long-term vision? You know, as real estate agents, we have to be very, very intentional about what our retirement looks like. Okay. Because we don't necessarily have, we're entrepreneurs. We don't work for a company that provides a 401k because we're not employees. And so we have to be very, very intentional about what our retirement looks like. And so it can be a mixture of both. But as I mentioned earlier, one day we're gonna get up and say, man, I don't want to do an open house. I don't want to get up Saturday morning and go unlock doors. At some point, I want to just enjoy my family. I want to wind down. And in order for us to do that, we do have to incorporate somewhat of a buy and hold strategy, where we that aligns with that window of when we want to slow down a little bit. Um, so, so for you, Darkest, knowing that you're a real estate professional, knowing that all of us have to be intentional about our retirement. You definitely want to have at least a portion of your portfolio where you are buying and holding, allowing someone else to pay your mortgage off, so that when you do decide to slow down, and that may be a long time from now, but whenever you decide to slow down, you potentially have an asset that's cash flowing, potentially have an asset that's free and clear that can replace some of the transactional money that comes with real estate. Hopefully that answered your question, Darkest. Okay. Yes. Mhm.
They were saying that a big thing that people miss in this is understanding tax and tax advantages in the investment side.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick mentioned it earlier, the 1031 exchange. Is everybody familiar with that? Okay. All right. So when Nick, do you want to speak a little bit more to it? Okay.
So yeah, there's multiple tax benefits. So while holding a property, Dark's answer, kind of where you're going with it. We're all real estate professionals. We get taxed for Delaware and I right. At the end of the day, your tax write-off is only as good as you're allowed to be. So if you hold real estate in your personal name or have it pass through back to your personal name, but you spend money on maintenance, you spend money on management, you spend money on a move out, you spend money on renovating a property, utilities, whatever the case may be, you get to write all that off against your income if it comes back to you. So there's so many tax advantages. You get to write off the interest on the mortgage. So like there's a ton of different advantages to owning real estate. That's personally, truth be told, one of the only reasons I own real estate is to write off my income. When you sell the property, you have, so everybody, when you talk to a client, you ask, what do you owe on your what? Mortgage. The typical balance that they show you is going to be, there's two different numbers that you want to ask for. You want to ask obviously for the principal balance and the payoff balance. That payoff balance, you basically subtract that from your gross sale minus your expenses. So let's say for simple numbers, if you have a property that you bought for $60,000 and your balance, you bought it 7 years ago and your balance is $30,000, and you go to sell that for $200,000 and your take home is 170 minus that 30 is 140. You're going to be taxed at a very high rate as an investor on $140,000. If you own it less than 2 years, you get taxed almost 20%. If you owned it 2+ years, you get taxed 12 something percent. So 12% of 200,000 or 140,000 is like almost like $15,000, $16,000. So 1031 exchanging it defers. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't get taxed on it. It just defers your taxes for a later date. You're gonna eventually pay Uncle Santa's dues. It's just, do you want to pay it now or do you want to pay it later?
And then and the other option is you do have the opportunity to take that money, then apply it towards another real estate purchase. And so in doing that, you can still kind of kicking the can down the road, or you can use that money to again buy and hold. And so uh thank you, Nick. Great point, Sarah, about the tax strategy, because that's something that's very, very important. We're trying to minimize that tax bill. All right. The other one is we talked about fix and flip, buy and hold. Oh, so one of the things I'm doing with the buy and hold strategy is this. Um, and this is something that I'm doing because this is what the market is saying do. I am in the process of designing and building duplexes. Memphis has a 10,000 home shortage for affordable housing. So that's a real number. So it's a 10,000 home shortage for affordable housing. Uh, Congress recently passed a housing bill for construction that some of the cities will be able to take advantage of. Some of that, we don't have all the details on that, but affordable housing is a real issue. And so I've done some numbers where in building a duplex, also, let me say this too: the city of Memphis, city and county of Memphis, they have a land bank where they are essentially partnering with some nonprofit organizations to give away lots so that you can build homes on. So they'll give you the lot. They may even give you a tax incentive. Excuse me, not a tax incentive, a a subsidy, a gift for you to build as well. And so what I'm currently doing is applying for programs like that to get the lots to build duplexes. What that looks like is building a duplex, renting both sides out. Right now, when I ran my numbers, my mortgage payment would be roughly about 2,200. I could rent potentially both sides out for 1,700. So that's 3,400 minus the 2,200 uh, mortgage payment, which is $1,200. With that $1,200 in profit, I would put 600 back towards the principal to pay it off, and then I will put 600 in an escrow account for future repairs. Now, the benefit about new construction is the first 12 months, you're not going to have a whole lot of new repairs because, for the most part, the subcontractors and the contractors used to build a home, they carry a 1 year warranty on their work. And so that 600 times 12, $7,200, I have that in escrow. And then the second year, what I would do, I would probably reduce that a little bit, maybe about 500, and then take the addition and add that back towards paying the principal down, with a strategy to have the duplex paid off within 10 years. Because in 10 years, that aligns with my window of when I want to slow down, potentially. At 10 years, I'm 44, so in 10 years, I'll be 54. So having a free and clear duplex, bringing in $3,400 in semi-passive income. It could be totally passive. I hire Nick to be the property manager for me. Nick is a property manager, so it could be totally passive. I don't have to worry about anything but getting the check in the mail. But that's a play that I'm working on now because that's what the market calls for. And so just something to consider. That's part of the buy and hold strategy. So land is cheap. Materials ain't necessarily cheap, but land is cheap. Now, let me say this too. The other part of it is this: if I buy and hold it for 10 years, so I have me building each side for, it's going to be about 1,200 square feet on each side, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. I have the cost to build it right at 300,000. So essentially 150 per unit. And that's a fairly conservative number, 150 per unit. So I have it. It probably will appraise for, I think when we ran the numbers, it appraised for 360. But in 10 years, how much y'all think it'll be worth? I will say at least 400, right? Okay. So my goal is to maybe build one over two a year. And so in 5 years, I may have five. But in 15 years, if they're worth at least 400, how much is that in free and clear assets? That's about 2 million in free and clear assets. Now, I'm not taking the profit. I'm putting a portion aside for expenses, because we do know things are going to come up, and I'm putting a portion aside to pay the principal down so I can pay it off early. But that's a long-term strategy of wealth. I'm letting someone pay it off for me, letting a renter pay it off for me, so that in 10 years, when I'm ready to retire, I have a potentially a free and clear asset. Anybody have any questions on that? All right. So and then we have the buy and sell model where you just you build it from the ground up. Again, Memphis has a 10,000 shortage of affordable homes. So there is a space for you to be able to build a home and sell it and be profitable. And then they have some hybrid investor options as well. So the thing you want to do is just choose your path, master it, then expand. And then also, I want to encourage you in this particular space, whichever one you choose, if you haven't did it before, or if you want to, if you only did it a few times, you want to get better, get a mentor. Get a mentor to help you. And the last is yield a legacy. And again, we start with the end in mind. So we start about what we want our vision to look like. We start about us building wealth, not for us, but for our family. Again, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children. So not just even for our current kids, for our grandkids, for our children we may not even meet, but we want to build a legacy for them. We want to make sure that we give them something. And so that's the legacy piece. So what you build today can outlive you. Build it on purpose, build it for generations. And then the next slide, I want to talk about one of my fix and flips. This is one I did last year. Can you blow that up a little bit, Leslie? So I bought a home that was completely uh, burnt out. So anybody, if you haven't, just, I'm gonna put this plug in real quick. If y'all represent someone who's selling a house that burnt out, I'm very interested in it. So I bought the home, it was burnt out. I bought it for about, I think I paid 65,000 for it. I put in roughly about 120, and I sold it for right at about 246. And so a couple things. First, as an investor, you have to be a visionary. You got to see it before it's down. You got to be able to take a look at it and say, okay, I can do something with this. And if you can't see it, just ask somebody, hey, what you think we can do with this? You know, we talked about partnerships. So partnerships can be important, particularly if you don't have the experience doing it. And so one of the things that was fire damage, I had a realtor reach out to me and tell me about it. Say, hey, now what he told me is done. Hey, I'm gonna list it for like 15,000. I'm gonna go ahead and let you put your bid in. You know, you know how we do. So it's relationships are very important. But now I didn't, once he hit the market, the offers went crazy. I was still able to win the offer. But being able to take a look at it and say, hey, I think I can do something with this. And so go to the next slide, please. And when we talk about building a legacy, a couple of things that happened with this particular property. First, I was able to build it and sell it to a first-time home buyer. That first-time home buyer ended up being a Keller Williams agent. When she purchased the home with equity in it. So she went into the home automatically building wealth. In addition to that, you see some students at the bottom of the page. I was able to invite some students out throughout Memphis to show them what's possible. I showed them the before and after pictures. And the reason we want to do that is because sometimes seeing is believing. You know, sometimes us planting these seeds in these students' minds, with social media age, it portrays success different ways. And so we want to also show them that you can be very successful in real estate. And uh, so yeah, that's it. I'm very, very proud about that. Was able to help a first time home buyer. That's is very, very memorable. She was very grateful. And then also to be able to allow her to move in and have instant equity was something that was really important to me. So your legacy is not necessarily just about your children's children. It's also about the impact that you leave in the community as well. All right. So, any questions? All right. Who's ready to start investing? All right. All right. Who do I need to schedule some lenders and some financing people at our next session? Would that be valuable? Oh, let me if you can, let's go back to the other part I want to talk. Go back to the grow part, the G. Uh, I'm sorry, not that one. Let me see. Go to go back out real quick. Uh, establish. This is something I didn't talk about in establish. One of the most important things is this. Now, do y'all remember when I told you my background was? What was I? I was a banker. I didn't have one of my old colleagues in the back. She know it. I was a banker. So I was a banker. I didn't grow up in a construction family. My wife is probably the man of the house at home. So I say that to say this. So anyone that says, well, Don, I don't have a construction background, uh, you still can make this happen. You just have to have the vision. All right. And one of the things I did very quickly was I built a very good team around me. So this talks about building two teams. You want to establish a white collar team, which is your attorneys, your CPAs, your bankers, your insurance agents. And then it also talks about establishing your blue collar team, which is your carpenter, your painter, your HVAC guy, your electrician, your plumber. Uh, and so you want to have two teams. And the great thing about being able to build your team is what? You build your team. You choose the people that you want to be successful with. One of the great things about my team is this. For most of my team members, I'm their number one general contractor, which means that I get opportunity. I send them the most business out of everybody they're doing business with. But that to be able to be surrounded by people who also want to see you win, who on the job site giving 100%, people I don't have to check behind, people who says, hey, Don, the better you do, the better I do. I want you to go out and go get our next project. Oftentimes tell my team, hey, my most important job is finding your next job. You think they're going to be motivated to work when you say that? Yes, they are. Now, with that being said, and building your team, because this is a mistake I made very early on. I said it earlier, and I just want to emphasize it. The cheapest is not always the best. Okay, the cheapest is not always the best. I'm at the point now. Somebody give me I'm not even really looking at the lowest quote anymore, because in most cases, you're gonna get what you pay for. So the cheapest is not always the best. Um, and what I realize is this: uh, the cheapest quote, and typically I don't always necessarily get the highest, but we won't talk about talent a little bit. I have a couple criteria around people I hire for talent. First, I want to hire. Uh, Number one thing, I want to hire a man of faith. Okay. Now I'm not checking to see they go to church on Sunday. And I'm not saying any particular type of faith, but I do know this: if you are a man of faith, we got some common core values. You're not supposed to be lying. You're not supposed to be trying to get over. If you give your word, you're gonna keep it. Your word is your bond. So I want to hire a man of faith. Also, what I want to hire family men. Anybody know why it's important to hire family men? They got something to lose. They got some responsibilities at home. They gonna show up. They gonna show up. So a man of faith, or woman, excuse me, man or woman of faith. Uh, I want to hire a family person, because people who have family have responsibilities. So they show. Y'all know it's a real problem. People showing up and doing what they say they're gonna do, right? But most time when people have a family, they're gonna have to go and do what they say they're gonna do, because they want to get a check and take care of their family. And then the third thing is this: I hire a talent. Now that don't mean that I don't hire the most expensive person, but I hire a talent, because what I realize is this: hiring a talent, they're more expensive than the cheapest person, but you get a better return. See, what I figured, you hire cheaper, they don't mind coming back out there 2, 3 times to come on and do it. And they're gonna take their time. They ain't gonna show up. They're gonna dodge your calls. But hiring a talent, they take pride in what they do. They want to do it right the first time. The other person is I like to hire business people as well. So, they may be electrician by trade, but really at a high level, they're a businessman. They run a business. And so what they know is this: they're businessman or woman, excuse me, is gender biased, but what they know is this: if I send somebody out that they don't do it right the first time, it costs me money, because I got to go back out there and repeat it. And if you mess up something, you don't have to pay them to come back out and redo it, because you paid them to do it right the first time. So that's just a very, very important lesson. You're only going to go as far as your team, and make sure that you surround yourself with people who want to see you win. Go ahead, Darkest. Hmm.
Factors or what, so we kind of got recommendations from other people saying this person's a good builder, blah, 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 blah. So this person that we selected to start the project for, she builds in Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas. She came with really great reviews, and by my corporate background, I found myself interviewing her, asking questions only on the knowledge that I know, this being my first time going through the process. So long story short, she started the process, and we ended up being like $60,000 in the hole. We're probably in the process now suing her to get that money back, right? So we had another person, which is a church member, to come in and pick up where she left off, and everything went well. So I think one thing that I'm always hesitant on is making sure that it's somebody that you can trust, the person that did the flip. I feel that that's a person that's on my team now. I can count on them or whatever. But when you're going through that first process, sometimes people will recommend people, and they may not be the right people. They know how to talk the game, sound very professional, present everything they need to present, and we end up getting screwed on that first deal. So I would even say, when you think you got the right person, go back and check, pray about it, and all of that, because sometimes people will present one way and they totally end up being. So it's like, I feel like I want to hurt them things still. That's building team to make sure that you have the right people, the people that want to see you win, the people that you can trust at the end of the day. Because if not, if they're just for money, they're going to do whatever they can. And after the fact, we found out that they had screwed people, other people down the line. They can complain. So there's some things I thought I was checking, but I really didn't check, right? So it was a learning experience for me. But I think that team and building the right team, and not saying always that the cheapest is the best. You have to spend money to make money. People don't
Absolutely.
always understand that.
Yes. 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 And I'll say this too. So, and that go back to inspecting what you expect. So, with people that you hire early on, you're gonna have to be a little bit more hands on with them. Also, you want to be anybody asks for 100% of their money before they do anything. That's not your contractor. Now you need to, I mean, maybe 10, 20%, depending on what they do, but never pays anyone 100% of your money up front. If they give you a price for labor, make sure if they say, hey, I'm about the material. If that's negotiated, say, hey, I'll buy the material, or let me see the receipts. But just make sure that you're diligent just to avoid some of it on the front end. And some of it is this too. You try to mitigate risk, but nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. I'm still I built homes, renovated, fix and flip. I still make errors. I still, go against. Sometimes I go against things I know better. Have any of y'all took a listing and just been like, no, why I didn't follow my process? You know what I'm saying? Anybody been like that? So I still, you over time you learn things and sometimes you get a little bit loose and you forget. But so I still make mistakes, and I'll say this too: you're gonna make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, but me ending up making a bunch of mistakes really helped me speed my learning curve up. Because one thing about it, if I make a mistake, I ain't gonna make it twice. You ain't gonna get me twice now. It's shame on me if you get me twice. So, but I say that I don't want you to be fearful because you really can fail forward. What you thinking is a failure could be one of your biggest successes. So, yeah, and you just learn and grow. I got stories I could tell y'all, but for the sake of time, I don't want to go into them. But if y'all think that this is beneficial, what we can do is we could do a couple things. First, we can get some lenders in who will be more than happy to let y'all borrow money. Memphis has so many initiatives right now for affordable housing that it is crazy. I'm in the space. It's a lot of initiatives, a lot of incentives. So if this is a space y'all want to be in to help curb the $10,000 home shortage, I'd be more than happy to give you information. We can have a panel, people come in and discuss it. Also, we can turn around, in that same panel, we can have some lenders who, banks want to give you money. Ain't that right, Ms. Cole? That's how they make money. They want to give you money. You just gotta have some things together. They don't have to be perfect, but banks, that's how they make money, is by lending. They don't make money by a checking and savings account. They make money by lending money. So we can bring some lenders in who will be more than happy to work with you. Not just say no, but say not now, but this is how we can get to a yes. So thank y'all. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. That was